The first finger cracked against the elevator door. Lena Brooks didn't scream at once. The pain was too bright for sound. She stared at her hand trapped under Adrian Vale's grip, and understood that the billionaire meant every word. One by one. Slowly. "You took something from my office," Adrian said. "Where is it?" The service elevator smelled like bleach and steel. Above them, his charity gala was laughing. Down here, Lena's knuckles were grinding against metal. "I don't have it." He bent her index finger back harder. This time she screamed. If you've ever seen someone look perfect in public and cruel in private, tap like. Because Lena didn't know this night was about to get worse. Adrian let go long enough for her to drop to her knees. In his tuxedo and cufflinks, he looked like a man used to never hearing no. "Don't insult me," he said. Then he leaned closer. "Your son is 6, right? Noah. Apartment 4C. Babysitter tonight." Lena stopped breathing. 20 minutes earlier, she had been refilling drinks outside Adrian's private study when she heard him say too much. A woman from his foundation had been handled. The money trail would die with her. If detectives kept pushing, another accident could be arranged. Lena had recorded 12 seconds before a glass slipped from her tray and shattered. He seized her hand again and slammed it to the steel seam. "Where did you send it?" "I didn't." He crushed the middle finger. Her scream ripped through the elevator. Tears blurred everything. Adrian did not even blink. "You think this is the worst thing I can do?" he asked. "Tell me where the file is, or I let someone else ask Noah." Lena threw herself at him with her free hand. He caught her wrist, shoved her back, and her head hit the wall hard enough to burst white light across her vision. Then his phone vibrated. He ignored it. It rang again. He looked down, irritated, and his face changed. "What do you mean they're in the garage?" he snapped. A voice answered through the speaker. "Sir, 4 black sedans, no plates. They came through the gate like they owned it." Adrian straightened. Upstairs, the music cut off. Running footsteps echoed beyond the shaft. Then another voice came over the line, shaking now. "Sir, they're not here for you." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Then who?" Static, then the answer. "They're asking for Lena Brooks." For the first time that night, Adrian Vale looked afraid. The elevator doors opened to chaos. 2 men in dark suits stepped through the smoke-gray light of the service corridor as if the hotel belonged to them. They were not security. They were too calm, too precise. One went straight for Adrian. The other dropped to Lena's side, saw her hand, and said quietly, "We have her." "Get away from her," Adrian snapped. The taller man turned his head just enough to look at him. "You should save your voice for the police." Adrian actually laughed. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes," the man said. "That's why we came." Lena tried to push herself up, but pain shot from her crushed fingers to her shoulder. Her stomach twisted. "My son," she gasped. "Please, my son." The man beside her answered immediately. "Noah is alive. He was removed from apartment 4C 8 minutes ago." Lena froze. "What?" "He's safe." She searched his face for a lie and found none. Behind him, Adrian lunged toward the elevator opening, but 3 more men appeared at once, cutting him off without touching him. That was the strangest part. No shouting, no panic, just instant control. "Who are you?" Lena whispered. "You're not ready for that answer yet." They moved her through a service hall, past kitchen staff pressed against walls, past dropped trays and wide, frightened eyes. Somewhere upstairs, guests were still murmuring, confused by the sudden stop in music. The whole glittering hotel seemed to be holding its breath. Outside, 4 black sedans waited under the garage lights. Lena was helped into the back seat of the first one. A medic slid in beside her before the door even shut. The woman cut away the torn skin of Lena's glove, examined the swelling, and gave her something for the pain. "Can she use the hand?" the driver asked. The medic didn't answer for a second. "Maybe," she said at last. "If tonight is the last time anyone breaks it." Lena shut her eyes. As the sedan pulled away, she looked back through the rear glass. Adrian stood in the garage entrance, one hand braced against the wall, his perfect tuxedo stained with her blood. He wasn't shouting anymore. He was watching the cars leave with an expression colder than rage, like a man making a list. The vehicle stopped 15 minutes later at a private medical floor above a closed law office. No sign on the building, no staff at reception. Everything inside was already waiting for her. Her hand was wrapped. Her phone was placed on the table beside her. And then the same tall man entered, removed his gloves, and sat across from her. "You recorded Adrian Vale," he said. 12 seconds of audio and one image of a transfer file. Lena stared at him. "How do you know that?" "Because you sent it." "I sent it to a legal tip address I found online." "You sent it to one of ours." A chill moved through her stronger than the pain medication. He slid her cracked phone toward her and tapped the screen. The message she had sent was still there. Audio file, one blurry image, no reply. "We've been tracking Adrian Vale for years," he said. "Tonight, you gave us something we can use." Lena swallowed. "Then arrest him." His expression did not change. "One recording won't bury a man like Adrian. By morning, he'll say you stole from him, blackmailed him, attacked him, and injured yourself trying to escape." Lena looked down at her bandaged hand. "He threatened my son." "We know." "Then why does it sound like you're still losing?" The man leaned back. "Because men like Adrian don't fall when they're guilty. They fall when everyone sees it at the same time." Lena's throat tightened. "Who are you people?" He held her gaze for a long moment. Then he said, "The reason your father disappeared was Adrian Vale's family." Lena did not speak for several seconds. "My father left when I was 5, she said at last. "That's the story." "It's the story your mother was told to repeat," the man answered. He placed a thin folder on the table between them. Inside were photographs, bank records, and one old newspaper clipping about a fatal construction fire tied to a Vale-owned development 18 years earlier. The names meant nothing to Lena until she saw one she recognized. Daniel Brooks, her father. "He worked internal compliance for Adrian's father," the man said. "He found shell companies, payoff routes, debt accounts reopened after accidents. He tried to turn evidence over to federal investigators. 2 weeks later, the fire happened. 3 witnesses died. Your father disappeared before he could be next." Lena stared at the page until the letters blurred. "He never came back for us." "He was told your mother would be killed if he did. Then she died anyway. Quietly. Cheap insulin switched at a clinic paid through one of Vale's foundations." Lena looked up so fast the chair legs scraped the floor. "No." The man's face stayed still, but not cold this time. "That is why we have been watching Adrian Vale. And that is why tonight matters." The room seemed to tilt. For years she had carried the cheap, ugly version of her life. Abandoned daughter, overworked waitress, single mother barely holding rent together. Now all of it looked arranged, trimmed, managed by people rich enough to decide who got erased. Her phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. A video loaded the second she opened it. Noah. He was asleep on a narrow bed in a room she didn't know, still wearing his dinosaur socks, a blanket pulled to his chin. A woman's voice whispered the date and time for proof. He was breathing evenly. Safe. Lena cried once, soundlessly, then wiped her face with the heel of her good hand. "What happens now?" The man slid another phone toward her. Adrian started early. The screen showed every local outlet running the same breaking story. Billionaire philanthropist assaulted by disturbed employee during private event. A still image showed Lena from hotel security, blurred just enough to look unstable, desperate, guilty. "He filed theft allegations," the man said. "Claims you stole donor data and attacked him when confronted." Lena let out a dry laugh that sounded like it hurt. "Of course he did. He's holding a press-facing charity gala tomorrow night anyway. He intends to look untouchable. Smile, donate, speak about women and children, and bury you under applause." "Then leak the recording." "We will," he said. "And his lawyers will call it edited, paid, fabricated. He survives unless witnesses move with it." As if summoned by the words, the door opened. A hotel housekeeper stepped in first, still in uniform, twisting tissues in her hands. Behind her came a pale young executive assistant and the head of hotel security Lena had seen outside Adrian's study. The assistant wouldn't meet Lena's eyes. "I heard him," she whispered, "about the woman from the foundation." The housekeeper nodded quickly. "I saw him drag you toward the service hall." The security chief looked like he hated himself. "Garage cameras are backed up to a private server, not the hotel system. I copied the elevator corridor footage before his people could wipe it." Lena stared at them. Not saints, not heroes, just frightened people finally moving. The man in the suit folded his hands. "We can finish this," he said, "but only if Adrian loses control in public." Lena looked down at her bandaged hand, then at the sleeping image of Noah still glowing on the phone screen.
"What do you need me to do?"
"Walk into his gala tomorrow night," he said, "and make him see someone he thought he had already broken." By the time Lena stepped out of the black sedan, Adrian Vale's gala was already glowing across the glass front of the museum like nothing ugly had ever happened in its walls. Strings played softly inside. Waiters crossed polished floors with champagne. Donors in black ties stood beneath banners about dignity, safety, and hope for women rebuilding their lives. Adrian had chosen the theme carefully. He always did. He liked virtue most when it could be rented by the hour. Lena looked down at the bandage wrapped around her hand. 4 fingers. The thumb was bruised but usable. The other 4 still pulsed with the memory of steel, pressure, and that neat, controlled voice asking where the file was. One by one. "Last chance to stay out of sight," the man beside her said. Lena shook her head. He counted on that. The doors opened before anyone touched them. Conversations bent around her, first in confusion, then recognition. Adrian's team had done its work well. People knew her face now, not as a victim, as a problem, as the unstable waitress from the headlines. Good, Lena thought. Let them look. At the far end of the hall, Adrian stood on a small stage beneath a screen playing footage of hospital donations and smiling children. He had changed ties, changed cufflinks, changed the story. But he had not changed the expression. The second he saw Lena, his smile held for the crowd and died in his eyes. Even from across the room she saw it. Fear first, then fury, then calculation. He recovered quickly and lifted his glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said smoothly, "it seems one of our former staff members has joined us unexpectedly tonight. Please give her space. She's been unwell." A few people laughed uneasily. Others turned, hungry for a scene but unwilling to own it. Lena kept walking. 2 private security men moved toward her, then stopped when they saw the dark-suited men enter behind her. More black sedans had pulled up outside. Through the front glass, their reflections sat in a hard line under the museum lights. The room felt it, even if nobody understood it. Adrian stepped down from the stage. "You should not be here," he said, still smiling for the benefit of phones. "You said that in the elevator too," Lena answered. The smile slipped. "Careful," he murmured, low enough for only her to hear. You still have a son." Lena raised her chin. "And you still think threats disappear if you whisper them." He reached for her injured hand, not gently. The pressure was light compared to the night before, but it was enough. Pain shot up her arm. She flinched hard. The crowd saw that, heard the small sound she couldn't stop, and then the first screen behind Adrian went black. The donor reel vanished. In its place appeared a frozen frame from the hotel's service corridor, Adrian dragging Lena by the wrist. A beat of silence hit the room so clean it felt like the air had been emptied. Adrian turned. A second clip started. No audio at first, just the corridor angle. Adrian shoving her toward the elevator. Lena stumbling, his hand closing over hers. "Turn that off," he snapped. Nobody moved. The security chief from the hotel stepped into view near the sound console, pale but steady. "No, sir." Then the audio came through. Not all of it. Enough. A woman from his foundation had been handled. The money trail would die with her. If detectives kept pushing, another accident could be arranged. Gasps broke across the room like glass. Adrian spun back toward Lena. "Do you think this proves anything? A chopped recording from a thief?" "It proves you sound exactly like yourself," Lena said. He pointed at her with the hand he used for charity photos. "She stole donor files. She attacked me." "She's being used by people who know what your family did?" a voice cut in. Every head turned. A man stepped through the main entrance without hurry, silver at the temples, shoulders straight, face lined by years that had not been easy. Lena knew him at once, though she had not seen him since childhood. Not from memory exactly, from resemblance. From the shock of seeing her own eyes in an older face. Daniel Brooks, her father. Adrian went still. For the first time all night, truly still. "You," he said. "Yes," Daniel answered. "I lived long enough to watch your father die rich, and you grow stupid enough to think nobody else would." The room had abandoned all pretense now. Phones were out openly. Donors stepped back from Adrian as though wealth could suddenly stain. Daniel didn't look at them. He looked only at Lena. "I'm sorry it took this long." Her throat locked, but she held his gaze. Then the housekeeper came forward. Then the assistant. Then the hotel security chief. One after another. Not dramatic, not rehearsed, just done hiding. "I saw him take her," the housekeeper said. "I heard the conversation in the study," said the assistant. "I copied the footage before his team could erase it," said the guard. One of Adrian's board members tried to pull him aside. Adrian shoved him off so hard the older man nearly fell. That was the final mistake. Because cameras caught that too. His face had changed completely now. No polish, no charm, just naked contempt. The kind he had always carried for people who served him drinks and cleaned his messes and bled quietly where he put them. He lunged at Lena. He did not get close. Federal agents moved in from both side aisles at once, badges out, voices sharp, hands practiced. The dark-suited men from the sedans had not come to fight for spectacle. They had come to hold the room in place until the timing was perfect. Adrian struggled anyway. He shouted that everyone in the room worked for him. He shouted that the recording was fabricated. He shouted at Lena that she should have told him where she sent it. That line buried him more than anything else. You could feel the room hear it. One donor actually lowered her phone and whispered, "Oh my God." Adrian twisted once, wildly, and an agent drove him against the stage edge. The cuffs clicked on under the same charity banner he had chosen for the cameras. For women rebuilding their lives. Nobody applauded at first. Then one person did. Then another. It spread awkwardly, not like celebration, more like release. Like a whole room had been waiting for permission to stop pretending. Lena stood very still while Adrian was led past her. He looked at her bandaged hand, then at her face, and understood something too late. Pain had not made her forget. Pain had made her count. He crushed her fingers one by one. She remembered every single one. Outside, the night air felt cold and clean. Another car door opened, and Noah ran into her side before anyone could stop him. She dropped to her knees despite the pain and held him with her good arms so tightly he laughed and complained that she was squeezing too hard. Daniel stopped a few steps away, giving them space. Lena looked up at him over Noah's shoulder. There were years missing between them. Explanations, anger, grief. None of that vanished because one bad man finally fell. But Adrian was gone. Noah was safe. And for the first time in Lena's life, the people who broke things did not get the final word.